Imagine living in a country where the wealth of a few contrasts starkly with the poverty of millions, where resources meant to improve people's lives are diverted to benefit a corrupt elite. This is Brazil, a country full of natural beauty and vibrant culture, but facing serious internal challenges, corruption and social inequality. These two problems are deeply interconnected, creating a vicious cycle that perpetuates poverty and injustice. Today, we'll explore how corruption fuels social inequality and the devastating impact both have on the Brazilian population. Social inequality in Brazil has deep historical roots. Since colonization, land and resources have been concentrated in the hands of a few, creating a chasm between the rich and the poor. This pattern of income and opportunity concentration continued over the centuries, reinforced by inadequate public policies and endemic corruption. During the colonial period, wealth was extracted and sent to Europe, leaving the local population in misery. Even after independence, Brazil maintained an economic system that favoured landowners and economic elites, perpetuating inequality. In recent decades, there have been significant advances in reducing poverty. Between 2001 and 2015, Brazil managed to lift about 28 million people out of poverty, thanks to income transfer policies like Bolsa Familia and the increase in the minimum wage. However, income distribution remains extremely unequal. According to Oxfam, the 6 richest men in Brazil hold the same wealth as the poorest 50% of the population, about 100 million people. The country still faces structural challenges, such as lack of access to quality basic services and racial and gender discrimination, which limit social mobility for many Brazilians. Understanding the origin of social inequality is crucial, but to fully grasp the problem, we need to look at another devastating factor that perpetuates this situation: corruption. Corruption is one of the main obstacles to Brazil's development. In 2023, the country dropped 2 positions in the Corruption Perceptions Index, ranking 104th out of 180 countries. Landmark cases like the Mensalão and Operation Car Wash revealed massive schemes of public resource diversion that could have been invested in essential services such as health and education. Transparency International reports that 54% of Brazilians believe corruption has increased in the last 12 months, and 11% admitted to having paid bribes to access public services. Corruption not only diverts resources but also weakens institutions and undermines public trust. When public resources are diverted, less money is allocated to social programs, infrastructure, and other essential services. This exacerbates social inequality as the poorest depend more on these services. Moreover, corruption creates an environment of impunity, where the powerful continue to benefit at the expense of the majority. This cycle of corruption and inequality perpetuates poverty and limits economic and social development opportunities for most Brazilians. Understanding the impact of corruption is essential, but how exactly does it intertwine with social inequality? Corruption and social inequality are closely linked. When public resources are diverted, the poorest are the most affected as they depend more on public services. Furthermore, corruption perpetuates a system where the powerful continue to benefit at the expense of the majority. Afro-Brazilians and indigenous peoples are disproportionately affected, having less access to quality schools and health services. According to the World Bank, Brazil's Human Capital Index shows that Brazilian children will only reach 55% of their potential productivity as adults if they had full access to quality health and education services. In regions like the North and Northeast, this index is even lower, comparable to that of sub-Saharan African countries. Corruption further aggravates this situation. Resources that could be invested in education and health are diverted, compromising the quality of these services. In many poor areas, the lack of investment in basic infrastructure such as sanitation and transportation perpetuates social exclusion. Moreover, corruption creates an environment where the wealthy can influence political decisions in their favour, perpetuating income concentration and limiting social mobility opportunities for the majority of the population. What do you think about this relationship between corruption and social inequality in Brazil? Leave your opinion in the comments. Your participation is very important to us. Now let's look at some specific examples of how corruption directly impacts social inequality in Brazil. A clear example is the healthcare sector. Diversions of funds intended for hospitals and public health programs result in a lack of medicines, equipment and qualified personnel, primarily affecting poorer communities. In 2023, a study revealed that the diversion of resources in the health sector caused the deaths of thousands of people who could have been saved with adequate care. The lack of medicines and equipment, combined with corruption, further aggravates the situation of disadvantaged communities. In education, corruption compromises the quality of public education, limiting social mobility opportunities for low-income youth. Schools without adequate infrastructure, lack of teaching materials, and poorly paid teachers are direct reflections of poor management and corruption in the sector. According to the World Bank, the North and Northeast regions of Brazil have a human capital index comparable to that of sub-Saharan African countries, reflecting severe regional inequality that hinders these areas' development. Another example is the impact of corruption on infrastructure. Infrastructure projects are often overpriced or unfinished, leaving millions of Brazilians without access to basic services such as sanitation, transportation, and electricity. This diversion of resources not only limits economic development, but also perpetuates inequality, as poorer communities are the most affected by the lack of infrastructure. To combat these problems, several solutions have been implemented, but there is still much to be done. To combat these problems, it is crucial to strengthen oversight and control institutions, such as the Public Prosecutor's Office and the Federal Police. Transparency in public accounts and active civil society participation are essential to press for changes. Social programs like Bolsa Familia play an important role in reducing inequality, but they must be accompanied by structural policies that promote social justice. Additionally, reforming the tax system to make it more progressive is essential. Currently, the Brazilian tax system is regressive, with indirect taxes weighing more on the poor than on the rich. A tax reform that increases taxes on the income and wealth of the richest and reduces the burden on the poorest could help redistribute income more equitably. Investments in quality education and health are also essential. Professional qualification programs and increased access to higher education can help create more social mobility opportunities. Furthermore, strengthening the public health network, ensuring universal and free access to quality health services, is fundamental to reducing inequality and improving Brazilians' quality of life. Active civil society participation and pressure for transparency and accountability are also crucial. Initiatives such as the Transparency Law and the Access to Information Law are important steps, but they need to be effectively implemented and accompanied by an independent judiciary system committed to social justice. The situation in Brazil is complex and challenging. Corruption and social inequality are deeply rooted problems that require continuous and coordinated efforts to address. We hope this video has provided a clearer understanding of these challenges. What do you think about the relationship between corruption and social inequality in Brazil? Leave your opinion in the comments and let us know what other topics you would like to see on the channel. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is essential for us to continue bringing relevant content. See you next time.